Beautiful people. I was thinking before about that concept of be, do, and have. Um, that for me has been a tricky one in the past. I didn't get that concept. For me, it's probably like that concept for me, money's energy. And when I first started learning about, I guess, wealth creation and different ways of thinking about money and what money is and all that sort of stuff. And for me, the missing piece for that was when people say, and still do, I've still heard it to this day, and I think this is the piece that's missing when people say money's energy. And the first time I heard that, I thought, oh yeah, cool. I'd been meditating for years and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of down with that. And then I was always getting confused, going, I don't get it. I don't get what's going on. So I broke it down. And the thing is too, when you look at everything in the universe, everything is energy. Everything, no exceptions. Things just vibrate at different speeds. And the things that we can see that vibrate within the frequency of the light that our eyes pick up vibrate at that speed. If they vibrate faster than that to our eyes, it seems invisible for most part. Anyway, that's kind of, you start delving into that quantum world. And I mean, I've let myself study a tiny little bit of it, and it's super fascinating. And anyway, so the whole be, do, have thing for me, how that sits with me is I was thinking about it this morning and talking about it with my partner, and I thought about it a little bit more yesterday, going over some things and just jumping into a new program and wanting to deconstruct a lot more stuff around money, beliefs, and anything to do in and around money, wealth consciousness work, wealth work, finances, anything in and around currency, money, beliefs around that, old family beliefs, school beliefs, anything and everything around that. And being super aware of when ego's jumping in going, you can't do that, you can't afford that, or whatever. Just pulling apart and looking at where that's coming from. So I was looking at that be, do, have concept and studying a lot of stuff with, if you're into Abraham, Esther Hicks, they delve into it pretty deeply, and a lot of spiritual teachers do, and a lot of scientific teachers do as well. It's one and the same, just with different descriptions on certain things. So the be, do, have concept for me, and I relate this to kind of, it's anything. The thing I'm going to relate it to is probably work. Let's say there's so many things outside of our control, so many things. Most of how we operate in our lives, in the world, it's with stuff that's outside of our control, thinking that we can control it. And I think this is where a lot of people get things asked about face and get themselves super confused. When we can be the best version of ourselves, what do I mean by that? In that moment, being as conscious as you can be of who you are in that moment. Thoughts going through your head, observing yourself, how you're being, how you're showing, how you present yourself in any situation, whether it be on your own, whether it be with other people, whether it be in work, whether it be riding a bike through a forest. The more conscious that you be in that moment, the more aware you are, the more you're less likely to be attached to stuff that's external of you. When they talk about things from, I guess, the quantum realm and the field and things like that, and the law of attraction and vibration and things, when we the way vibration works is when you're vibrating in a certain resonance, things that vibrate within that resonance with you are the only things that match up. Now, it's not necessarily a specific thing happening, it's things that vibrate within that realm, like a radio station. If you're vibrating at 100 FM, you're not going to be able to pick up 89.2 on an AM dial. They're just different frequencies. So that whole be thing is, if you be present, be conscious, be aware, be the best version of yourself you can be. How does that relate into a work thing? If you're doing a job or a task in that moment and that job's pretty funky and crappy against something external to you, you have the power in that moment to, and I've done some pretty funky work, and probably most people have, if you are able to focus on how you're showing up on the task at hand, and let's say it's just a really just disgusting job that you're doing. When you take responsibility for how you show up in that moment, irrelevant of what the task or the job is, you're more likely to show up completely present, show up aware of how you're being in that moment, expand your consciousness and your awareness in that moment. So you can control all those things about you, how you show up, how you respond. Am I gonna whinge, bitch, and complain about this fucking shitty job I've got to do? Or, you know what, can I practice going through some emotions, going through some affirmations, lost the word, practice going through some affirmations and imagine things sitting on a beach. See you sweeping up some pretty gross stuff and you're thinking about some stuff and you're like, oh wow, I'm so cool, I'm so refreshing in this beautiful crystal clear water at the beach. I've got a nice drink waiting up there under the umbrella, under the palm tree, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So if you're just being all present into who you can be in that moment, do the best job that you can do in that moment. You have control over that. You don't have control over anything external to you. In the be, do, have, the do part, this was again another tricky one. The whole thing was tricky for me. So the do part, how you showing up, how you show up in whatever that thing is that you're doing, you can, by being the best version of who you be, you're allowed to then, or you allow yourself to then show up to do the best that you can do in that moment. And the have part, for me, how I see this in this circumstance, you get to have that result that you're working towards because you were working on being the best version of yourself, doing the best job that you could do by being the best version of yourself first, and having the best result that you could get from doing the best that you could do by being the best that you could be in that moment. So from a work perspective, that's helped me a lot in lots of situations. And I've done some work where I've been abseiling down into, steel silos, 25 meters from the roof, just hanging down like a pendulum, swinging, doing a wet clean and stuff like that, covered in flour and stuff like that, swinging around, getting seasicky and having to figure out what I can do to stop that. So trying to find in that moment, be the best that I could be in that moment, to do the best that I could do to find things to stop me swinging around so that I wouldn't get that sensation of feeling nauseous, to have the result that I was after, to get the silo cleaned and get out of the silo safely, or my team that I was working with back then, in the whole be, do, have thing. And look, that's interchangeable no matter what it is that you're doing. The thing for me though is that being, whether it's you want to be a certain person that you think you could be to do that job. And the beautiful thing about that is you just go and sit in what your imagination will let you feel, or what you can come up with in regards to being that version of you that you want to be, to do that job, to have that result, or whatever it is. So the be, do, have thing, it's a very powerful and a little bit tricky, not much. I just think sometimes when people share things with us, sometimes little elements or pieces of the puzzle get left out. And I don't think people intentionally mean to do that. I think they may get caught up in the actual excitement of them sharing some stuff. So with this one, be, do, have, maybe that might give you a little bit of a better concept on how to show up in a work situation differently, how to show up in a home life situation differently, how to show up in a sporting environment differently. You've got to be whatever it is that you want to be before you can do whatever it is that you want to do, to have whatever it is that you want to have. And it has to go in that order. It does. And having self-belief in yourself to allow yourself to, for me, it's been igniting my imagination. And I've learned this from some pretty cool spiritual teachers and some amazing science teachers around the world at the moment. When you start researching the power of your imagination, everything, before it comes into physical manifestation, was an idea. It was energy. It was in our imagination. We came up with a thought. We went through a process of different things to bring that thought into physical manifestation, to transmute it from energy to physical energy, touchable, tangible energy, by imagination first. Be, do, have. Anyway, hope that helps a little bit. Take what you like, leave what you don't. Just be the best version of yourself that you can be. All right, be good.